So there's this famous story about this doctor, Cassignan, and Ricardo Cassignan. And it's kind of amazing because he was a very avid atheist. Except in 1999, he looked through a microscope and everything changed. His whole belief system changed. But before I tell you what he saw, kind of this interesting study. There is a little bit of good news in the world, and that is they've done these studies on how honest people are. And actually, the good news is 90% of most people are fairly honest. They're not going to steal your packages on your porch. They're not going to, if you lose your wallet, 90% of the people actually return it. Isn't that great news? You think the world is falling apart, but, the good news is, 90% are pretty good. 10% create 90% of the problem. Good news. You want to hear the bad news? 90% of the world, they're liars. They will lie straight to your face. Yeah, they won't take your wallet, but they'll steal your Diet Coke. You leave it in the break room, they'll take it. It's this really odd thing. 90% of people, and if you confront them on it, guess what they do? They lie. So it's really bizarre. Like, I told the story before. It's people don't want to think of themselves as liars, so they don't do anything big, but if they can get away with it, they'll get away with it. That's the bad news. And I was on vacation with this family who I just love. And two of the girls come back, and they have Diet Cokes. And their mother said, "Where'd you get the Diet Coke?" And they said, "Oh, it was free. It was on the maid's cart." So I said, no, that's not free. That was her Diet Coke that she had. You took her 2 Diet Cokes. And they said, no, it's free. It was right on the tray. And I said, "Did she offer it to you?" "No, we just took it." And we got in this huge argument until I finally forced them to say, no, nobody just has 2 Diet Cokes on a tray with all their cleaning supply. But human beings will double down, and they'll lie. They'll take your Diet Coke. So what they found is 90%, they'll commit the small crimes. And only if they can get away with it, though. So what do? 90% of the people in the world, I hate to say this, they're liars. They're unfaithful. So what do you do with all the problems in the world? What can we do? And this Canadian psychologist did this study where you think if we just enact really severe draconian laws where you touch my Diet Coke, we cut off your hand. How do you like that, Sharon? What they found out is that, this is strange, hard penalties don't change anybody. Because the hardened criminals, they don't care. They'll commit whatever violence they want. They're so angry or vicious, it's not going to do any good. And even if you do catch them, they can always try and hire a lawyer to get out of it. So what can you really do to change the world when you know that most people, sadly, 90% will lie? And the odd part, the answer is, there's really only one solution, and that is to change people's heart. We need to have a change of heart, which brings me to the Last Supper. So imagine Jesus, what his solution is to give his heart to the 12, to give his heart to the entire church. Here's the amazing part, knowing that all of them will reject him. One will sell him out, one will deny him, the rest will run away. Only the women and John stayed. What do you do when you know full well that these people are going to stab you in the back? He continues to wash their feet and offer them his body and blood. And so what he really offers us is his heart, so that our hearts change. As I said, laws and rules won't change the world. People will find a way around them. They'll just be more sneaky. What we really need is a change of heart. And so what Christ offers us is his body and blood. In the Greek, and I know I'm a stickler on this. In the Greek, when Jesus says, "This is my body," in Greek, there's a lot of different ways you can say things. There's only one way you can interpret that this is his body. Then he takes the chalice. This is my blood. He is giving us his heart. When he says, "I am the bread of life," he doubles down on it. You must eat my flesh and drink my blood. What he's offering us is, even us, he's offering us a new heart. Because the truth is this. My heart is very broken and dangerous. Because I'm part of the 90% where, I probably lie. I do it. I have in me a very, as they say, a treacherous heart. It's broken. It will fail. It will be unfaithful. And this is what I've learned after 30 years of listening to confessions. When people confess, no matter what it is, oftentimes I'm a horrible person because they're confessing. I'm like, I could imagine myself doing that. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, a lot of times I haven't. But I've done some amazingly selfish things in my life. I just haven't committed that sin, but I don't think I'm any superior. So whatever happens, whatever politician or celebrity gets caught in a scandal, I can't really say I wouldn't do that because I don't know. I mean, no offense, when I was drinking a lot at the U of I, I've done some amazingly stupid things. And so all I can say is, well, you and I, there's something dangerous that lies in our chest. And that is a heart that's broken, that can do incredibly callous things. Our only solution is actually to gain a new heart. Over a lifetime of feeding on the body and blood of Christ, we gain a heart that is capable of great love. That's the only solution. So going back to Dr. Ricardo, he was actually this famous doctor who actually studied under some very famous people. A Nobel Prize winner was one of his teachers, and he was a physioneurologist. So he studied how the brain and the nervous system works, and in 1990, the church in Argentina asked him to start an investigation because he was a well-known atheist. So they wanted an atheist to do this investigation. And what happened in 1996, this priest, after Mass, a woman comes up and says, "Father, somebody left a host on the ground." So he didn't want to consume it because it was dirty. So what you can do is put it in a bowl of water, and after 7 days, the host dissolves, and then you pour the water down the sequarium. You bury it. And so he just put it in a little bowl of water and put it in the tabernacle and checks on it in 7 days. And in 7 days, it's turned red. And it's turned red, and it's clearly something else. So he goes to his bishop, a guy named Jorge Bergoglio. You might know him as Pope Francis. And ask him what he should do. And he says, well, let's just see. Let's wait, keep it in the tabernacle, and let's see what happens. So 3 years go by, and it remains this red host. So then they start the investigation, and they ask this Dr. Roberto, to do an investigation. So he takes and examines it, and he's shocked at what he sees. And then he takes it to this famous cardiologist in New York City. And this guy's expert, and they don't tell him what it is. And they ask him to look and diagnose what it is. And he looks through it and he says, oh, I know exactly what it is. It's a piece of a human heart. And it comes from the left ventricle. Now, the left ventricle is the one that supplies your body with life, with oxygen. And he says, and I can tell whoever heart this comes from had a lot of damage because this was taken at the moment of death because there's still white blood cells that are alive in it. And he says he often sees this in cardiac patients and car accidents of people who have had a lot of trauma around their heart. So whosever heart this was, they had a broken heart. And so then he was told, well, it came from a consecrated host. And he says, do you have any explanation scientifically why the white blood cells would still be alive? Because usually they die quite quickly. And he says, I have no explanation how this can be. The other truth is this. I have no explanation why Christ would entrust his heart to all of us when all of us have a damaged, broken, unfaithful heart in one way or another. And yet, Christ's solution has always been to give us his heart. So actually, it was a piece of heart from a man from the Middle East, left ventricle. Now, this is not the only time it's happened. It's rare. It's happened in the 700s. But the odd part is it always happens when people don't believe in the real presence of the Eucharist, that this strange miracle happened. Happened in the 700s, happened 3 times in 3 different countries in the year 2000. And it seems to be God's way, I think, sometimes of getting our attention, that what he's offering us is not just a meal. Because you hear some people say, well, it's just a meal where we gather together. I think when Jesus said, this is my body, this is my blood, I am the bread of life, he means it. He's giving us his heart so that we can love. So what do you do with 90% of the world who will lie straight to your face? What do you do with a world where we are broken? It's not more stringent laws we need, it's greater love. And so in the Eucharist, Christ gives us his very heart. But the problem is that, he can give us his heart, but we can always find ways around what love means. And so tonight is also the Passover. The first reading was very clear. 3,000 years ago, when the Jews were slaves in Egypt, when they're slaves in Egypt, they pray to God. God says, I'll free you, but I'll free you through a meal, the Lamb of God. And all you have to do is put blood on your doorposts, and when the angel of death comes, it will pass over, hence it's called the Passover. And together, you eat the Lamb of God, and you'll be set free. And they were set free. But the prophecies were that one day the Christ would come, and the Christ would offer a new Passover with a new law and a new exodus to a new homeland. And the new homeland couldn't be Israel because the prophecies were made in Israel. The Messiah will bring us a Passover that will deliver us not just from slavery of Egypt, but from the slavery of sin. Lead us to a new place. And the new law is love. Before this passage, Jesus goes on for chapters on the Eucharist as the new law. I give you one law, that is to love as I have loved you. And then he gives us his heart. But the problem is, as I said, a lot of people can say, well, love is sweet, I just love people. But love is actually seen in action. Love is an action. So, what happens? Jesus, just to make it clear to his disciples, because they'll always find a way out, he takes out his outer garment. The presider of the Passover, they had this outside garment that you would wear so you know who is celebrating. And he takes it off, and he puts a towel on. And he begins to wash their feet. Now, you would not remember, they were slaves in Egypt, and God set them free. And when God set them free, they no longer have to be slaves. So part of Judaism is that they would never wash somebody's feet because that's what a slave does, and we were freed from slavery. So they wouldn't even make their slaves wash feet. So the fact that Jesus says, let me show you what love is, and he starts to wash their feet, and that's why Peter gets upset. No, we are not slaves. We've been set free. You can't wash our feet. And Jesus says, no, if I, your Lord and Master, God is willing to wash your feet, then you should be able to wash your feet of others. To the prisoners, to the alcoholic, to the person that would stab you in the back. All you have to offer is love. And so in the end, I just love the fact that, yeah, Christ freed us from slavery so that in one sense we could be slaves of love. And I love the fact that this year, the Passover, the Lord's Supper, Holy Thursday, is on April Fool's Day. Because if you what bigger fool could there be than somebody who would entrust their heart to people that can be so faithless? What bigger fool can there be to say, and even when I know people will reject me, I'll still wash their feet. I'll still try and love with all my heart. That's the law of the Eucharist that has been handed on. And so now, for those who are entering the church, please come forward and let me wash your feet.